Hello, everyone. In case you haven't noticed, Trump has a very real, very big, and very dangerous personality cult. If you don't know what a cult of personality is, I suggest you look it up because it's very, very disturbing. Anyway, Trump has managed to set himself up as a demigod to a lot of people, as the great hope for this nation, despite his many failings and setbacks. And I think a lot of people are just in denial that their Messiah wasn't all they thought him to be. I mean, he's got a cult of personality like Mao Zedong, Jim Jones, Adolf Hitler, David Koresh, and Joseph Stalin. There's lots of other crazy leaders out there with cults of personality, such as the Kim dynasty in North Korea. You can look into that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. And these cults of personality, they don't end well for the people that are in them. And it's like, as Thomas Sowell said, a moment, Stalingrad or Jonestown, and a bunch of other places, that's a pretty big price to pay for a moment of exuberance, for a few moments of exuberance and brotherhood and shit like that. But I've realized that anyone who speaks out against Trump is automatically demonized. I mean, these right-wing guys, they love their military men until they speak out against their demigod, which is, of course, Donald J. Trump. I mean, Mattis was almost a god in himself, a godlike in himself. And then he turned out to be... and then he turned against Trump, and as a result, the Trumpsters turned against him. And I mean, it's like they just started blasting him. They started calling him Lapdog Mattis, and they're saying he's a phony Marine and all that stuff, and he's an ex-Marine. I mean, damn it. In early 2017, a lot of them would have paid for the privilege of shining that man's shoes. But nope, not anymore. And Trump has literally betrayed the U.S. with the bounty issue. I mean, he loves Vladimir Putin. I haven't been able to find a example of this in history, another example of this in history, but the stronger of the two powers is now the puppet state of the weaker one, Russia being the weaker one, economically and militarily. I'm not saying they're not strong, but they're not as strong. However, it's just, there's been countless examples of puppet states throughout the history of the world, but this is the first one where the weaker of the two powers is controlling the stronger of the two powers, puppet strings. And that's what Donald Trump is. I mean, he's basically Vladimir Putin's bitch, because he will do whatever that man says, because Putin knows how to play people. He's a he's a former KGB after all. And it's like, this goes well beyond a matter of opinion about whether or not you think taxes should go up or down, or if you think Confederate statues should be removed, or abortion should be legal. This is a clear and present danger to the U.S., and it has to stop. And you know something? Like the Lincoln Project said, it's America or Trump. It's not Trump or Biden, Republican or Democrat. It's America or Trump. It's just that simple. And it's like Joe Biden, we could have asked for a better candidate, but we could have asked for a worse candidate too. A lot worse, trust me. And, I think he would be a competent president. Maybe not a great president, but I think he'd be an okay president. It's hard to find somebody in history who would be worse than the one we have now. I'd venture to say this guy might even be worse than James Buchanan. In fact, I'd venture to say he is worse. And it's like, comparing him to George Wallace, that's just ridiculous. Because George Wallace would not have let somebody like Putin walk all over him. That much I can guarantee. He would not have allowed Putin to walk all over this country. It's just that simple. And guess what? George Wallace actually served in combat in World War II. Well, I don't know if he actually served in combat, but, well, actually he did. He served flying aircraft over Japan. And by the way, that was actually more dangerous than being an infantryman if he flew flying in a bomber. And anyway, it's like, you know, George Wallace served, Donald Trump dodged the draft with 5 fucking deferments. And George Wallace eventually apologized for his racist ways and segregationist ways, but Trump will never do that, I can guarantee you. Do you know why? Because he has narcissistic personality disorder. He is nothing but a coward who cannot admit he's wrong, and he is all about himself. That he only cares about himself. That's the only person that matters. You see, in his mind, he is like a star. And instead of viewing other people as stars, he views other people as planets orbiting him. He views the world as Trump. The world revolves around Trump. The only thing that matters is Trump, and how, and people's worth is determined only by how much praise, honor, and worship they give him. It's just that simple. And what's really scary is that Trump might order his followers to do something crazy if he loses. You know, he might order a general revolt to keep him in power. And I've seen some people that would probably take up arms. And before you go, oh, they're just a bunch of fat yahoos who wouldn't last a day in an actual combat situation. Some of these guys are very qualified, including top-tier military units such as DevGRU, that's SEAL Team 6, and Delta Force. Some of these guys will follow Trump to the grave, and they're not all jokers. I'm not saying that none of them are jokers. I'm saying they're not all jokers. Don't underestimate them. Take this threat very seriously, because the losses could be absolutely horrendous in terms of economics, military equipment, and lives. Do not take this lightly. Be afraid. Be very afraid, people. Just because we beat Trump does not mean we're out of the woods yet. That orange menace has to go. Because I don't want 4 more years of living in a puppet state. I've lived in a puppet state for the past 4 years, and I have had enough of it. Anyway, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Be good, y'all, and vote Biden.